started, my name is Natasha Telger. I'm with Illinois WorkNet, and I'm located in the Springfield office. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the different assessments that have been added to Illinois WorkNet. And then we're going to, I can provide a demonstration. You know, anytime you have any questions, go ahead and enter them into the general chat. And then we can also open it up at the end for anyone who has additional questions. And we're going to take a look at some marketing pieces that we have. Trouble at any time today with the audio for whatever reason. We do have a conference call number that you can call into, but you can also listen through your computer speakers. And up in the, well, I'll go ahead and type it in the chat pod just in case anybody needs that phone number, but it doesn't require a passcode, and so you can use it at any time. I'll just have it here for your reference. 3878. Okay. It says full screen. If you would like to expand that at any time for yourself so that it's easier for you to see, you can click full screen, and then just to minimize that again, you click full screen again. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to take a look at the different resources that are available to you. Some of you have experience with the Summer Youth Employment Program, which utilize some of these resources. But since then, we've added quite a few more assessments as well. So we're going to take a look at some self-surveys. We're going to take a look at the interest inventories and the new workplace skill resources. We do have all these resources that we have available. We were provided or were added to Illinois WorkNet based on feedback from the field. So we did have some feedback, that we still have customers that are, computer challenged, computer skill challenged. So we do have a computer skills survey that's available. That's available in the paper form as well as the online form, and it provides next steps. So we'll take a look at that because there are some resources that if you do have a person that is people who have used the previous pre-assessment in their Summer Youth Employment Program. It's located in the exact same place, but it's been updated, so we'll take a look at that. We still have our career and interest profiles that are available for you to view, for your customers to complete and save into their account, and then as well for you to view as a case manager or instructor. We have the new skills wheel that we'll take a look at, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to take a look at that area. We've had a lot of positive feedback on that as well, and we've also updated the workplace skills activity to go a little bit, and we'll take a look at that. We have our observational assessment that was added this summer, and that was developed by the Chicago Workforce Investment Council and it's used in the Chicago Public Schools. So we're excited about that as well. We have the NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment that's available, and normally you have to pay for this assessment, but it's available for free through Illinois WorkNet to the Illinois WorkNet partners, so that's another option that's available for you. And then we also have our Worksite Evaluation. And for those who participate in the Summer Youth Employment Program, it's very similar. We're adding enhancements to and using your customer groups to help you with communicating with your customers, letting them know if these assessments are available, letting them know about upcoming events, and so forth. And so we'll take a look at customer groups and how you create them, and some of you automatically have them in your Illinois WorkNet account, and you might not even be aware of it. So we'll take a look at that as well. Now, the two assessments that we consider our self-surveys are the computer skills self-survey. Again, as I mentioned before, it is available in a paper form, and it's also saved within your Illinois WorkNet account. So the computer skills self-survey simply provides like guidance, next steps on where are you currently, and where what kind of skills would you like to enhance. So I'll show you when we do our demonstration. But we do have some links that you, as a resource room manager or case manager, instructor, if you run across a person that just is not familiar with computers at all, there's a website that's available that you can simply direct them to, and as long as they can read, they will be able to follow the instructions on the screen, and it walks them from using their keyboard and transitions them in interest profilers, and these are available through Illinois WorkNet. And I see Elizabeth says, what's that web address? And I'll show you in just a minute if you're referring to the computer skills. Then we have the interest and skills and interest profiler, and it does require an Illinois WorkNet account because they can save their results. So whenever they save the results, we have to know who the results go with, so it is required. And once they log into their Illinois WorkNet, they'll be able to see the tabs across the top, and they just simply click on skills, and the assessments are available to them. Now, with the skills and interest profilers, we have 4 different easily, visually tell what's the difference between each of these interest profilers. The interest profiler is simply, it gives you, I believe it's 180 different, I don't know if you want to call them a task, and then you say, well, do you like it? I'm not sure, or I dislike it. So based on how you answer those questions, it organized your interest into 6 broad categories of work. So through that, then they can find different occupations that would be maybe of interest to them based on their interests. And, is that something that would be that's very satisfying to them, moderately satisfying to them, or somewhat satisfying to them? And so based on how they rate those skills, then it matches them to skill clusters of occupations. So again, it's another way to look at what kind of occupations might be a good match for them. Then we have the work importance locator, and with this one, it uses more like the card placement. So they just simply, move a card. It rates it from most important to least important. The values, what they consider important. And then we also have the career cluster inventory, and it rates your interest and matches it to the career clusters. And it's very similar to the interest profiler. It gives you, I can't remember the exact number of items, but again, you just rate it between you like it very much, like, not sure, and dislike. And then it'll, again, will provide you with options for, any of these interest results, career and interest surveys, then they will be available to you through customer groups. And if you're not familiar with customer groups, we'll talk about them in just a minute. But once they're saved, then you can view those as well and provide feedback on next steps as well. Now, I do remember that some of you had said that you have used the Summer Youth Employment Program, pre-assessment activities, and post-assessment. And we have recently updated that. Because we have added additional post-assessments, we wanted to make sure that this pre-assessment is now 54 questions long, and it's still optional. And a person can complete it once. If they've already completed it before they get to you, it's still okay because they can access their results and the next steps and guidance because it's meant to be a study guide. So they can access it multiple times, they complete it once, and they can refer back to it. Then we also have our activities that are available. You notice that they might look a little bit different because we color-coded the icons to match our new format within Illinois WorkNet. So we have our Prepare, Learn, and Find a Job. And these are the same as what was so again, each of these areas, they still have the actual steps that you can use for, you could do it, you can print them out, or again, it'd be best to have them do that online because then they can enter their results or their responses, save them into their account, and then you as a workforce professional can view their responses for each of these activities. Then we also have the career development assessment, and that's what used to be called the post-assessment that was used for the Summer Youth Employment Program. And it still has the same questions that were on the Summer Youth Employment money management, and applying for a job, those type of questions that aren't covered on the other assessments, such as the Observational Assessment and the NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment. So they can still answer some of those questions about resume writing and so forth. So that's what the Career Development Assessment consists of currently. And once they have completed the Career Development Assessment, then they can print out a certificate of completion. Now they only have to score 70% or higher on the Career Development Assessment, and they can take the Career Development Assessment an unlimited number of times. So one of the updates to that assessment as well answer right, for them to learn more, and so they can do better on the assessment the next time they take it. And again, you as Illinois WorkNet partners can view all of this through customer groups using the customer summary link. Now, one of the big changes, and we're really excited about this, is the workplace skills wheel. Because as we're going through all these different assessments and looking at all the information, it's not enough just to put an assessment out there. We need to provide look at national and state standards as well as the Illinois IT Task Force recommendations. And, everybody was saying the same thing. They just weren't saying it. It just wasn't categorized all in the same way. So what we wanted to do is crosswalk all of those national and state standards to the assessments that were available through Illinois WorkNet. And we took a look at those, compiled them into the categories that you see here. on all these areas anyway. But there's just a lot of information, and how do we put it into Illinois WorkNet so it's just not, text everywhere, and it's super boring. So we we compiled all of the national and state standards into these categories, and they're not linear. So it's not as though you have to have your communication skills before you have your, positive attitude. It's that you need to have all of these skills, and not everybody's going to be perfect in all these areas, but yet you have to have into our wheel. And we thought, there's got to be a way to present it so that we can draw the individuals into the information, especially you as instructors. How can you use this with your workshops and your classes? And so for each of these areas, we have 3 other pages behind it. We have the first page, which is scenarios. And so it's kind of like, well, what would you do in this situation? So they can start out, talking about it as a group and working out some of what would you do. And then they can take a look at those answers, and then they can also take a look at the skills that the employers want. And and then they can even take a look at it and say, well, okay, I'm doing pretty good in this area, but this is one I could use a little work on. So they can rate themselves, and then we have a whole listing of resources that can help them with skill enhancement, so they can learn more about what's expected. And then we have the next step. So now that you're working with these skills, how can you add them to your Illinois WorkNet? How can you add them to your resume and so forth to help you become a more marketable candidate for the occupation or for the job opening? And then for each of these also, we have whenever you hover over an area, an image appears, and then in the center we have our necessarily just one path. All these skills build upon each other, and it provides additional options for you and opens up more doors for you. Okay, and then what we are also currently working on is adding videos to each of these areas, so that's in the works as well. Another new assessment that we have is the Observational Assessment, and it was developed by the Chicago Workforce Investment Council, and it's free as well, and it's really simple. I think the beauty of this is its simplicity, is that we have the different observational areas, appearance, hygiene, timeliness, attitude, self-control, ambition, supervising. So it's meant for an environment in which so everybody can be good. I'd hope for at least a day or two, or maybe even a week. But over, are they consistently on time? Are they consistently having, being able to control themselves? Consistently having a good attitude? Because everybody can have a bad day as well. So over time, how are you at behaving? And so the instructor can easily go in and through their customer groups, you can click on any of these items, and you can see the rubric and how that is defined. So for each of these items, you can take a look at the definition for that, that item that you're observing. This observational assessment, then your student or your participant, your customer, can also, they'll be notified whenever the observational assessment is complete, and then they can go into their Illinois WorkNet account, or you could send them a message through customer groups and let them know that, if they have any questions, they could contact you, or, you could set up a time to go over these, or however you want to handle it for your situation. But it provides a way that, it gives feedback to the person per student. And Elizabeth, I did see your note. Will this link to case notes as well? And we did this summer do a sync with IWDS. So this is kind of a side note. We did have synced our case managers and your customers with Illinois WorkNet. And so now we're taking it to the next phase, which is now we have all this information, and we just need to make sure that we're working, and we are working with the programmers to link it to the appropriate places within the emails and follow-up, but for it to link directly to the case notes, that's something that we'll be working with the IWDS programmers as well. But it's not currently set up that way, but that's where we're going with this. Okay. The other assessment that we're really excited about is the NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment, and we've had one location really, they ran with it, and so I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that as well. We've had several people express interest in piloting that. And we like the NOCTI assessment was a good fit. Actually, let me take a step back. The reason why we chose, or we worked with the case managers in selecting an assessment was because there were case manager workflow studies that were performed across the state in the various LWIAs. And one of the topics that kept coming up is that we need a standardized work readiness assessment. And so we looked at various assessments and took it to the IWP program use. They have a good rating. They've been around for 30 years. They're well known in the area for providing assessments. And so with working with them, we have the 21st Century Skills Assessment. And one of the things I like about this is it's non-occupation specific. It's multiple choice online assessment. It can be provided in you can have up to 2 hours to take the assessment. Most people don't take that long. Or you can offer it into 2 60-minute sessions. So that kind of offers a little flexibility. There's a text-to-speech option, and this is free to all Illinois WorkNet partners, and it's offered through Illinois WorkNet. So the cool thing about this is that you can have your customers set up your account, fax it in, and then within 2 days, then you get your assessments, and you'd have to use a totally different system and so forth. So now all this is put into, you can get your assessments immediately, the day of, the right before. You can allow your customers to log into their account using the passcode, and they just simply log in and take the online assessment, and then all the results are saved within their account, so you as the case manager instructor can view those results through your customer groups just as you would with all these other assessments. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, Sue had a question. yourself, that's not a problem. Just knowing in general that'll go, those results will be saved, for your location. But also, if you get, taking a look at the pre-assessment, will give you an idea of some of the questions and topics that are covered within that NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment. Okay. Oh, and here's a screen capture. So whenever the student or customer logs in, and then it goes straight through their Illinois WorkNet account. They have instructions. They can take a practice test. They can go ahead and begin the test, and it's just simply if it's 2 sessions, 1 out of 50, it gives them how much time they have left to take the assessment. And then at the end, they can go in and they can take a look at their summary. They can mark some of the questions to go back and take it. You can, skip some questions, and at the end you can take a look and go back and so you have different options. It's pretty neat. Okay. And then I just saw, I was looking at our Jeannie Kitchens is also on with us, and so she had just responded again to Sue's questions in the chat. So Jeannie may be responding to you as well. You're familiar with the Worksite Evaluation. It was part of the Summer Youth Employment Program, and the intent is that it's designed to be completed by the worksite supervisor. And so we have, again, similar to our observational assessment, we have 10 items, and there's 4 different levels. And this is being modified, if you remember correctly, for the Summer Youth Employment Program. We had a separate area where you would look at the rubric, and actually my programmers are updating this so that it'll be like the observational assessment, so that you'll be able to see the rubric right within the actual assessment itself, which is nice. And then another thing that we're working on is at creating a link so that you could go into your customer group and send out that link to the worksite supervisor, and they could just simply click on the link. It would automatically update the individual's account so that you could take a look at those the worksite evaluation, the comments from the supervisor, as well as your customer. So they would get an email notice and let them know that their results are available, and so they have that feedback. Now with the worksite evaluation, you can have an unlimited number of an unlimited number of employers. And for each of those employers, the suggested process is, first of all, before they go out there, or the first time days on the job, of the work experience. And then midway through, or if it's a long work experience, maybe a few weeks into it, provide the preliminary assessment so that they get feedback, so they understand from their employer that they think they're doing a really good job or not so good, if they have some areas to work on. And then again, we have the final evaluation that would be completed at the end of the work experience. And each of those are saved within the customer's account. So then that leads us to the customer groups, because I keep referring to the customer groups, but the customer group is a tool that all the assessment results, view activity responses, and you can communicate with your customers. So if you are, we have two, I'm just going to say we have two basic categories of Illinois WorkNet partners. We have those that are the We Have funded partners and those that are not. And the We Have funded partners, if you're in IWDS and you have a user role of a case manager, and there's some other various versions of case manager, but if you have that basic role, then your Illinois WorkNet account or your IWDS account has been synced with IWDS. So what that means is if you are a case manager with an IWDS, you automatically have your customer groups already set up for you. They are just in your Illinois WorkNet account waiting for you to access them. If you are not an IWDS, you still have access to customer groups. You can use them we call them personal groups. And with the personal groups, you invite your customers to your personal group. So I can show you how to do that in just a moment as well. You can select your personal group. When you go there for the first time, you won't have any customers, so you'll have to invite them, and we'll take a look at that just in a minute. If you're an IWDS, you'll have more options here because you have more customers that are automatically loaded in there for you. Then you can take a look at all their assessments and their contact information and all that kind of good stuff. And then we also have a link for your customer emails. So you can click on customer emails, and who is ever in your personal group or whatever group that you had selected, you can send them an email. And maybe that is, we have an orientation next week, or we have a workshop, or you have to turn in this by, October 31st. Any type of those type of messages you can just easily send. In your customer groups, then you can easily see what the customer summary. It includes the activities, pre-assessments, and career development assessment. Whenever you are, you automatically have your worksite evaluation and your observational assessment. Those are available to you because the customer doesn't complete them. You, as a workforce professional, or the employer, is the one that completes those assessments. So those links are automatically available for you. Now, the two links that you don't see here are the NOCTI and the skills and interests. That's because they will appear when the customer has completed that particular assessment. So once they complete the NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment, is available through the customer summary as well. Okay, Elaine has a question. Can staff look up Illinois WorkNet logins and passwords for customers who have forgotten this? This is a question that comes up quite a bit because one of the things, first of all, we always recommend is that they have a valid email account, because the easiest way to recover their password is whenever you go to log in, there is a section that's right underneath it. It's pretty standard, whichever site you log into. But in ours, it says Get Password. If they can't access their email for one reason or another, or for whatever reason they can't use that option, the other option is they can use where they have to answer 3 questions, and then if they answer those 3 questions correctly, then they will be able to reset their password. And the 3 pieces of information they need are the username, date of birth, and answer to their secret question. So IWDS. And let me take a step back. Whenever your IWDS customers are synced, whenever they're added, the ones that are added are those anybody that's entered into IWDS, whether they're a universal customer or they've gone through, they're registered. If they're a universal customer, as we know, they don't have to provide every bit of information. But as long as they provide their email address, then we can set up an account for them. And what happens is when it's set up in IWDS, I provide an email account, it goes in and it takes a look. It's created, then they're sent an email with their login information, and it will log them in automatically so they can answer their secret question, and so they can change their password to something that's meaningful to them. So if you're an IWDS and you have access to universal customers or any of those customers, and a person forgets their email, forgets their account information, and for whatever reason can't get into their email, have access to IWDS, then what you're going to have to do is have them add themselves. They would have had been invited and added to a customer group so that you could view that information. So that's the long response to your question, Elaine. But again, it's just the easiest if they could just use their email to recover their password. Everybody here is already in the Illinois WorkNet, but I just want to point out that for your new partners, whenever adding new people, or maybe you have some youth programs that you're working with that you want them to go ahead and get set up within Illinois WorkNet, we are changing this, and it already is changed. So it says Workforce and Education Partners Pathway. So you'll start hearing me refer to this as like the partners pathway instead of the workforce professionals pathway. So we're trying to get partner pathway. And it's important because we have the customer groups tools that they're set up with the correct location. It's really important because with those emails and the invitation to the customers, it does put your signature at the end of that email, and your signature comes from your profile. And so, when they set up an account, then they can take a look and see if their existing location is available. But if it's not available, we really ask them just to take a moment and to fill out the form to become an Illinois WorkNet partner, and then we have the correct location available for them, and they're associated with the correct location. And with that, we also have the Certified Illinois WorkNet Advisor online course, and it has been updated. It's, again, it's still self-paced, web-based, but us to see the bigger picture of how all these tools can be used together, but you still get an overview of the resources that are available within Illinois WorkNet. And so now that it's offered through Illinois WorkNet and not a separate learning management system, we're able to have more options. And one of the things that we want to make sure everybody knows is now that everybody who had should be, if you're not already, registered for this new online course, and you still have the 90 days to at least one of those CEWA courses, because we want to make sure that every so you can go ahead and work on that if you haven't had an opportunity to. Take a look at it and give us your feedback on what you think. And over time, we'll also be adding additional modules. So we'll be adding an assessment, specifically an assessment module on this as well. Okay, so right now, I've been blabbing for quite a while. And my computer just a second. It's loading the different marking pieces. I wanted to give you an opportunity to take a look at the and these are the items that you can download. And I'm going to go ahead and get my general chat back up here. You can take a look at these. You can click on the full screen, and if you want to take a look at them more closely, then you'll be able to do that. And there you go. I've added the general chat so you can continue typing. Sorry about that. And we'll give, it looks like a couple people are typing, so I'm going to go ahead and turn computer screen and my desktop. And let me get this. And ask questions, still ask questions. If you want to do, click on the full screen button on your computer, and that will zoom in a little bit more so you can see this. There was a question. You said this link to IWS to get the info where specifically. And so whenever an account is updated or added within IWDS, then it'll be added to Online WorkNet or updated as appropriate. Now, whenever but you're leading to the point to thanking all the customers and the workforce professionals or WorkNet partners. And now we are going into the next phase, which is more the details of, taking all these and we needed to get especially some of your feedback too as to which components would be most useful, for you. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and I see that there's a question about, or there's a comment about a lot of echo. And if you'd like to call in, remember there's a phone number at the top of the chat that you can use if you'd like to just call in. And I did see the question about the training, and we will help you with that. Okay. Like the screen for an IWDS customer, an IWDS case manager. And I'm not going to actually click into these because I don't want to expose customer information, real customer information. But whenever you go into you log into your education Workforce and Education Partner Pathway account, your partner account. To view My IWDS customers, those are all of your customers that have been assigned to you within IWDS. If I click on Registered or Universal Only, then you'll see whoever you have access to in Illinois WorkNet, then, I'm sorry, whoever you have access to youth, you would see youth. If you had access to TAA, that's who you would see here as well. For each of these areas, you can create a subgroup. Now, the subgroups are simply a filter of your customers. So this is kind of like your automatic filter. It automatically does it based on what's in IWDS. But you can even or just people that are, need, job assistance as opposed to, finding training programs. You can create your own subgroups to match your workflow. So once you select one of those groups, then you'll be able to view them. You could also create an invitation group or your own personal group. I'm not sure if people that are in IWDS will really use this that much, but it's available to you. This is my Illinois WorkNet account, and I'm going to go ahead and click on customer groups. I did see a couple questions come in, so while my computer's coming up, I'll just take a look at these. Okay. When a new customer is entered into IWDS after you enter username on our customers, okay. Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you, Cindy. Okay. Here. Just reading some of these. Okay, a password. Yes, a password. I'm sorry, I'm gonna expand this. It's hard for me to read here. What they've chosen. A password is generated for them, but they receive an email so that they can update. Once they log in for the first time, then they're prompted to change that password. Okay, I thought the user ID and passwords that come in IWS are useless. They do not connect to anything. Password, so it's not useless because that's how they get into their Illinois WorkNet account. But once they get into it the first time, then they can just change their password. Okay. Okay. Yep, Cindy, you're right on top of it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go right. Will not forget about the computer skills link. I'll do that in just a second. Okay, just real quick, since we're in the the customer area, then the first time you come here, you will not have customers, so you can use the invite, and this is where you can invite a single customer at a time, or you can use your group invitation. Once you do this, we have information on separately on customer groups and webinars on that as well. But one of the things that once you set up your customer group invitation, you can give them basically a URL they have accepted the invitation, they're automatically added. And you can see here, here's my username, date of birth, and answer to my secret question. And that's what I would use to recover my password and change my password. So, for example, we do have some area, we have Pat WorkNet, and Pat has been in the system, in the programs for a I can take a look at her current employability activities and her observational assessments and worksite evaluation. So I can also, let me just hit close. And I can also take a look at, again, their worksite evaluation, the worksite evaluation, at an employer. And this one, she already has a final evaluation from this particular employer. And this is an example of what they would be able to see. Should be able to see the skills and how the rating, how well they can also take a look at their observational assessments. Again, with the observational assessment, you can save up to 12 evaluations or assessments. And if I created a new one, I can just simply click on each of these items so I can see the have all yeses and either 2 or higher on their observational assessment. So when I'm done with that person, I just click out of there. It opens in a new window, so I can click out of that window and easily go back to my group of people. Technically, this person has all zeros, but let's say they had, like 30%, 50%, 80%, however it was, and they could take a look at each of these areas. So whenever they more, it'll take them to that area in the skills wheel. So let's say I didn't do very well in the reasoning and problem solving. I can click to learn more, and either me as a workforce partner or as an individual. Whenever I take a look and here are all my resources for each of those topics to take a look at to learn more. Okay, I'm going to go through some of these kind of quickly. This person has saved their interests. So it just simply takes you to exactly what they would see, where you can restore their answers, view the scores. You can see the results of if you have several people in your customer groups, and you're like, well, I just want to take a look at the people that have an observational assessment or a worksite evaluation. That meets that search criteria. Okay. So let me go back to my search options and click everybody. Again, you can narrow down your search. over and go to the other page because I promised that I would go to that next. Now, okay, but what we're going to do, just kind of jumping around, but I'm going to show you the computer skills. You're going to have to get onto this page, but it's under the Learn because they're learning how to enhance their computer skills. And then we have our computer skills skills area. And you know, this is designed to walk you through the process of, you know, doing your self-survey, learning about the different computer skills. You have a new computer user. And these resources at the top, so it's, you go to your computer skills page, increase skills, and so for your new computer users, it's right here at the very top. We have the TLN technology. It's very basic. And literally, you start going there whenever it takes you from there. Obviously, you'd want to get them into a computer skills, you know, workshop or class. And so we also have the options here to, you know, search the events, news and events, to see if there's a computer skills workshop available in your area through the local content. Help them with their computer skills. But then we also have, you know, some additional items here that, you know, when they're kind of, you know, a little bit more familiar with the computer, then they can start using some of okay. So that's the computer skills area. We took a look at the observational assessment. You know, to complete the observational assessment, you would go to your customer groups and click on observational assessment. And for the NOCTI assessment, it's a little bit different because what you're going to have to do is order the assessments, and it's actually provided in a proctored environment. And so to access the NOCTI, we have so as we add more and more tools, then you'll start seeing this list grow. But right now, My Tools, NOCTI Assessment. And the first time you go, it'll prompt you to agree to the terms of use. You'll just be able to agree to the terms of use and move on. If your site has not requested to become a NOCTI location and you don't have a user role that will allow you to make that decision, it will provide you with next steps on who to contact to agree to those use of terms. We have information about ordering assessments. We have the user agreement. We have the system requirements. This is important, the system requirements for using the NOCTI, taking the NOCTI exam. And then we also have a proctor guide. And you don't have to be, I mean, you can be an intern and proctor the So whenever you go to order your NOCTI assessment, You just enter the number of test sessions that you want, 1 or 2. One is 60 minutes. I'm sorry, 1 is a 2-hour session, and 2 are 2 60-minute sessions. You have your classification, youth, adult, displaced worker, and the only reason why we do this is so you can easily sort your data. These attributes that you have for this type of assessment, you can order whatever quantity that you need. We recommend that you just order the quantity that you're going to use. You can do it, you know, if you want to do it like 7 days before or so. It doesn't have to be, you know, very far into the future. You can even order them that day if you really want to. Date and click Request Assessments. You can see your past orders. So you can see I've ordered quite a few, so I don't want to submit my order, but I did it earlier. Have everybody in the classroom, you can just expand this really big and tell them, okay, everybody, go to this website that's on your screen, you know, on the projected on the screen, enter your account information, and enter this passcode. So I'm just going to go to a new session. Oh, maybe I have one open. I don't know. Let me go ahead. I just want to show you how easy it is. So I just entered the short URL that was up there. My NOCTI test. I'm going to log into my account. And then I'm going to enter my passcode. And then it gives me some instructions. Well, it actually just tells me what happens if my connection, you know, maybe I lose internet access in the middle of my assessment. It's really back to where you left off and so forth. Pop up to this. And so then it'll just take you right from where you were. It's kind of slow here. If there's too much time that's elapsed, hiding in one of my windows, then you'll be able to. There's a number that you can call in, and as it's in the Proctor guide. Here's my thing. And you can take a practice test, and then you can log into your test, and it just simply is there's demographic information that you don't have to have them complete. You can, but you don't have to. And then they just simply answer multiple choice questions, and at the end, the result from NOCTI. So let me go back to the webinar really quickly. Okay, it's the assessment. Okay, it's okay. The question was, is the assessment able to be sent via link to the employer evaluator? Not yet, but it will be, and that's for the worksite evaluation. When ordered, Yes, with relatively. They need to be done completed in a proctored environment, and I believe they have like they expire after 60 days or 90 days. So and that's why you recommend using them, ordering what you need within the 7, and using them within a week or 2. Okay, how is becoming a NOCTI location done? What are the parameters for being a NOCTI location? Good question. Really, all you have to do is a contact person for your location. So if you're an Illinois WorkNet partner, number one, you have to be an Illinois WorkNet partner, and you have to have what we call an organization admin role, and that's because we want to, we want to make sure we have a site contact person for that organization. So if you don't have a you know, whenever you go there, if you're not able to make a request, it'll tell you to, your Illinois WorkNet coordinator and your site admin are listed below. Please contact, one of these people to approve to become a NOCTI location. And that's really all it is. It's reading the terms of use and agreeing to the you have automatic access. It's immediate access. And so once your site is a NOCTI proctor location, then anybody who is an Illinois WorkNet partner associated with that with that location can agree to the use of terms. The NOCTI assessment, and it's not due to a computer outage, can you stop and restart? Now the time will continue on for your NOCTI assessment, but there is within the proctor guide a phone number that you can call, which is a NOCTI phone number, and they will help you through that, either reset it or remove that assessment, and they can use a different one. Okay, guess to NOCTI location. Okay. Okay. I am over my time, and I'm willing to stay, for as long as anybody has questions. But what I do want to do is I'm going to go to my next. You had a lot of great questions, and I appreciate those. I really do. I wanted you to go ahead and answer, if you would, a couple questions, just like, first of all, if there's any other information that you'd like regarding customer groups and assessments available through WorkNet, and then also if you would like to be part of, like basically like a piloting a site. Today, but we need to break it down into, just specifically, an assessment, a webinar like on the observational assessment, and so we can break it down. And so as we work with, groups individually or as your pilot to our other Illinois WorkNet partners. So that would be wonderful if you guys anyone is interested in getting the ball rolling in some of those areas. Okay, can the observational assessment and the employer worksite evaluation be sent to the evaluator in a link via email? Now, I really haven't worksite evaluation, my programmer is currently working on. But so once he does that, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that with the observational assessment. So that's a very good question and comment. Another thing that I have, and it's available at the end of this. Has done so. So I'm going to jump back, jumping around over here a little bit. Let me hide this. We do have, it comes up here. Come on. My computer's being a little slow. Sorry about that. But I wanted to point out that we have a guide, as I mentioned it early on. Come on. If I can get my I just added it today, and it's about 40 pages, but it goes through, setting up, accessing your customer groups, sending emails, filtering your customer groups, all the assessments. The study guide is listed out in there with the answers. We also have in this the workplace skills flyer that can be used with your customers. We still have upload it to WorkNet, the connect to tools for building